Y'all, we are back. Triggered AF, the podcast. I know y'all getting a little spoiled because we have had in-person interviews now. This is the third one in a row. So, go ahead. We're keeping it this season. Just transitioning, changing all the things.
Leveling all the way up.
And I'm super excited to have Abu with us here today. I truly do love this beautiful human, primarily because he has taken the gifts and talents that he has, and now as the GOAT of digital marketing, showing other folks how to do the same. I invested in one of his courses quite some time ago, and I learned so much. And you would think that that's what we was gonna talk about today, about his GOATness in the digital marketing space. I like that, his GOATness. You should use that. However, we're gonna do something different. Right?
Yeah, we want to switch it up. We're sure you've talked about that 100 times. So we want to just go a little bit deeper with you. If that's okay, put on your scuba diving gear and come on deep with us so that we could just kind of get to know you and maybe the people who follow you and are moved and inspired by you. A lot of times we don't really get to have conversations about just who you are as a man. Mm-hmm. And that's why we just love to start our conversations with our guests as someone that's incredibly talented, multifaceted, successful. I'm sure you wear a lot of hats. You have a lot of other titles other than just digital marketer. But who do you say that you are? Like if someone's like all the accolades, all the things, all the titles, when it just comes down to the base of it, who are you?
Yeah, I think that if you would have asked me this maybe like 5-10 years ago, I would have had a different response for you.
Yeah.
And this is a question I've been struggling with as of recent, to try to figure out, who am I outside of like when people need me, right? I am the person that someone needs, right? That's who I've always been over these last few years. If you were to ask me, I would just say that I'm someone who has been fortunate to have mentors along the way and people to open the right doors for me along the way.
Yeah.
But my self-identity is something I'm still struggling with outside of the need, right? If people don't need me, then who am I? I remember I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and it's a double-edged sword. There's a part of me that wants to be needed because I'm so accustomed to people needing me. Yeah. And so when they don't need me, it's like, well, who am I right now?
Because you feel the validation in them needing you.
Yeah, I feel for the longest time my value is in what I could give. And so I felt like if I wasn't giving anything, that I wasn't of value.
Wow.
And so right now I'm sort of going through this process where I'm trying to figure out, and I know I'm already valuable, but I'm trying to figure out, well, why has my mindset been like that for the last few years?
Well, look at you on a little healing journey. Okay, thank you for sharing that. That was like a little moment of vulnerability. This must be a safe space.
It is a safe space.
Thank you. No, seriously, thank you so much for sharing that. That was like, wow, thank you. That's awesome. I feel honored to have heard that from you. Thank you.
And I like to when men feel comfortable enough or safe enough to say, hey, I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah.
Yes, I've done this, I've gotten that, I've achieved this. And also, I'm still in a place where I'm figuring it out and I'm allowing myself to do so.
Especially when sometimes being a man can mean you have to have all the answers.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's brave of you to even say, hey, I don't fucking know.
And then on top of that, like the cultures or the households you grew up in.
Yeah.
And so coming from, as a refugee in West Africa, in my household, we really masked our feelings. We didn't really talk about it. And so you were supposed to have it all figured out. You were always supposed to say you were fine.
Yeah.
And so now I'm realizing a lot of who I am today, I have to unlearn a lot of those things that I learned up growing up.
That conditioning. Yeah, absolutely.
It's so crazy that literally so much of your childhood, it's the foundation of everything, not of so many things, but of everything as you grow up, what you go after, what you accept, how you handle trials, how you handle excitement, how you feel about yourself. Yeah. So much of that is steeped and based in what we experience as children. And it's so funny when I grew up, because I too, like you, I grew up super impoverished. And there's this quote by Jim Carrey that I absolutely adore. And he says, I wish or I hope that everyone would get everything they ever dreamed of, become, rich and famous, so that you can see that that's not enough. And so what happens when you do fulfill the things that you never even imagined, right? That you could fulfill for yourself, but then you realize like it's not enough.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, I grew up poor. So when you grow up poor, you want all the money in the world. Like that's what you want because you didn't have that growing up. It's either that or you want more love because your parents weren't around there, always had to work to put food on the table. And so I thought that, okay, if I could earn and make income, if I could help contribute, my mom will be home more. If I could do that at an early age. Like I was trying to get a job at like 6, 7 years old. Right?
Did you succeed?
I didn't succeed.
I was gonna ask.
I used to hustle around like the football stadium selling like water ice and things like that, thinking I was making an impact, but it really wasn't. And you know, as I got older, I was like, okay, well, how do I help my mom out? I got to get a full ride to college, right? Like, so I ended up getting a full ride to college. So a lot of my actions were based on like, how do I make it easier for my mom so she could be around more? So I have to do these things necessary.
Wow. As
I got more and more accolades and then more success and money came, I realized that it wasn't the solution to everything. Yeah. Because no matter how much money I gave out, 2020, a few years ago, I made the most amount of money and profit that I ever did in my life, but I was the most depressed.
Ooh.
And I was giving away all this money, and I would have traded all of it to like not have money, but to have peace and to be able to be around family and to be around people that didn't need anything from me.
Yeah.
And so it's been a challenge. It's been a roller coaster. And I think when you reach the destination, I realize there's another destination, right? Like there is no destination. It's just a journey.
It's a journey, yeah.
And so I'm in the midst of trying to figure out, like I mentioned earlier, like who am I in the midst of, if I gave everything away, then how do I value myself and how do people value me?
And if no one ever needed you again, what does that look like?
Absolutely. And so it's all the money in the world doesn't sort of mask the internal battles that you go through.
Yeah. But how do you feel like you're navigating that? Like you're saying that you're trying to figure that out. Can you be more specific as to what that looks like when you're, because what you're doing is self-care. You're doing like, you're trying to take better care of yourself so that you can be happy, so that you can feel good, so that you can be okay with being needed and be okay with not being needed. Like, I don't think sometimes it's like, oh, I don't want anyone to ever need me again. Because sometimes that's where healing, there's a part of healing that's just like, fuck all of this. I'm done with everybody. I'm cutting everybody off. Yeah. That's like the early stage where and sometimes it comes back around where you just say, yo, I don't like anybody anymore. Everyone's like, so I know that sometimes it can kind of like, I don't want to ever be needed again. But the real kind of balance is, okay, how do I figure out when it's good to be needed and when I need to say, okay, no, you need to figure this out on your own. You don't need me. So what has it been looking like for you? What has, coming hopefully out of a depression or cycling through it, like what does that look like for you? What are some of the things that you have to do to kind of move through it? Yeah,
so I think the first thing I had to do was just like admit that it was a problem.
Oof.
Right? Like
the first step.
Yeah, the first step. And just taking it all in and I think what happened to me, I kept hitting the same wall. And I found myself, in my bedroom, all the lights out, like sitting in a corner. And this is a part of me that no one knew, right? I was experiencing all these things that, but as soon as I walk out my door, I always say I'm the greatest actor. Because, I go out that door.
Right? We all need an Oscar because the acting chops on us, honey.
I felt like I was such a good actor when I went out, no one really knew. And so, and that was a double-edged sword because I became a crutch for others. So for me specifically, what I had to do was first I had to admit that there was something going on. 2, I had to get in the process of like, okay, well, let me actually legitimize it and try to find a therapist, right?
Okay.
Psychologist. I need just to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Right. The third thing I had to do was I had to start thinking about what's the opposite that I could do of what I'm currently doing. So I started turning my phone on Do Not Disturb. Okay. And I won't answer it in the morning because I don't want bad news in the morning. It'll affect me for the rest of the day.
And everybody like to text and call in the morning with all the bad news.
Yeah, they're ready. They wake up on go. They pick violence. They choose it every day.
Absolutely. But if I get it late at night, then I can just sleep it off, and next day I don't really, it's like never really happen.
And it's like kind of getting to know yourself better. Like, hey, I don't like that. And it's so hard for us to get to that point where it's like, hey, that doesn't work for me. I don't like that. I'm gonna do something about it. A lot of times it's like we have to grin and bear. We have to grin and bear it.
Yeah.
Like we're kind of conditioned to be like, okay, well that's just life. It just sucks. But it's like, I can pick something else.
Yeah, right. And you can also too tell people how to treat you. Like I adore my sister. Anybody who knows, like Keisha, that is, I mean, listen, we're gonna be rocking till the wheels fall off. Till it's time for one or both of us to go ahead and peace out to this dimension. And also, I told her, I'm like, hey, I don't like that you call me in the morning complaining about what you're doing. That does not work for me.
Yep.
I love you, but it's now giving me anxiety.
I did that to my mom years ago.
And I don't want to live in that space. She's like, well, I'm not trying to. I was like, I know you're not. I know you love me and you're not trying to do anything. And also, this is not a but. I meant what I said. But cancels everything before it. So, and I also need you to not call me or text me at 8 o'clock in the morning telling me about a problem. Because when I see your name comes up, I'm now, oh God, what just happened? Is she okay? Da, 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 da. And I am a natural born protector. I could thump with the best of them. Yeah. And I'm trying to learn how not to thump with the best of them. With any of them. That's where my healing journey is going to take me next. But no, so for her, it's letting people know, hey, this is something that I need you to not do. And if you care about me or if you love me, then you'll be like, all right, bet, my bad. Yeah. And since then, she hasn't done it anymore. And so it's letting those who you do care about, letting them know, this doesn't work for me. Yeah. I love you and let's try something different, you know?
Yeah.
I think too, that's where you realize if the love has always been reciprocated. Because some people you tell that to,
they feel away.
They take it personal.
And they don't respect your boundaries.
They don't.
Yeah, and that's why sometimes you gotta let those people go.
Release.
Yeah.
What does good release looking like? Like what is it looking like? How can we, which is the title of this episode, how can we turn the page? Yeah. But then too, you have to also acknowledge that turning the page does require you to let something go. I cannot read page 50 if I'm so dedicated to staying on page 5.
Yeah.
It just is not possible unless I put myself in the uncomfortable position where I am holding the middle chapters together, reading this one, then hurry up and getting back to this one, then reading this one. So it's like I'm splitting myself in two, and then chasing two rabbits, you lose them both. Mm-hmm. So what has the process been like for you with turning the page and deciding that it is okay for me to leave behind these people, places, and things? Like, what have you found has been like the hardest part of letting go? I
think the hardest part of letting go is accepting who you've become. And the reason I say this, I was talking to one of my good friends, Tara Reed, and we were talking about dating, for example. And
I love a good date.
And she was like, but I'm noticing a trend here. And she was saying that you're dating these type of people because you haven't accepted where you are currently in life. And she said, you have to realize.
That's a good friend. Keep her around.
I love her.
You know her too?
Yeah, I love her.
You got another child because she told me like it is. That's my kind of girl, honey. Okay.
And so she was saying, you have to realize like this is where you are. Like call it the 1%, whatever you want to call it. You have to act according to where you are. And she says your heart keeps getting you in trouble. You have this big heart.
You want to cap the same house.
No, she said you have this big heart and you're a coach, you're a consultant, whatever. But whenever you see people with problems, you think you can fix everything.
Yeah.
You want to save all the hoes. It's okay, I get it.
And so you feel like you can fix everything, and therefore you keep finding yourself in this predicament. So I think for me, release is just acknowledging like, I am currently in a different space in my life, and it may not look the same. I have those memories, but
thank you for them.
Right, correct.
Enjoyed it while
I think it's okay, and this is gonna sound so bad, especially coming from me, but I think it's okay to be too good for stuff.
I agree.
I do. I say it. I feel it. And I also think it's better. I also think it's okay to think you're better than people. Not in the way that it sounds. It sounds like shit, but in a way that's like, at this thing, I am better than you at this. So because of this specific thing, I'm not better than you. Like your worth is there.
Everybody's worth.
Our value, however,
is a little different.
It's not. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It sounds really good. Like we're all just equal and we all just bring something to the table. No, you don't.
Well, I think everyone has value. I do. I
don't know if I agree with that.
So here's the thing. Everyone does have value.
But maybe not in my life. Maybe not in my life.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Okay. So we say the same.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Every single person has value. And also, I don't bring the same level of value to the surgeon's table.
Exactly. That's what I mean by
that. I do to the marketer's boardroom.
Exactly. So it's like you have to kind of accept the fact that, hey, there are people better than you and you are better than some people at this thing that you have mastered and studied and worked on and worked for. It's just like, it's okay to be like, hey, yo, this is my shit. I'm the boss in this realm, and in this realm, I'm better than you. And you may not be able to play with me up here because I only play with other people that can make me better or that can contribute something to me. It's like a lot of times, like I always love that you correct me when I talk about being humble. You know, because especially as Black people, especially if you grew up in the church, especially if you have a big family, it's like humility and like this poor man mentality is what's praised. It's like, oh, you just want to humble yourself and bring yourself lowly and be this like little mouse in the corner that does all this hard work but doesn't want any credit for it. No, fuck that. Put my name on the billboard, honey, on the marquee. I need that bitch across the marquee. Like I want my credit because we work so hard. And I think it's just necessary to stop playing small and to just, I love what you say, just acknowledge that, hey, this is who I am now. Yeah. So maybe this is what I date. Like now I date bad bitches. Like I don't know.
No, but literally like I don't date, and I've said it before. And listen, when I tell you my DMs was flooded, I mean AP flooded with men who were butthurt because I said I don't date broken men. I don't date broke or broken men. I love a man who I can look and see that you have built or created some type of monetary wealth for yourself. And then I always take it further in that I also love a man who has taken the time to work on the healing of the pieces that he knows like have been causing stressors or have not allowed him to get to the best places in his life. So the reason I like the first type of man is because ambition is sexy as fuck to me. Like, oh my God. What you created, okay, you show me how. I don't even want to do it. Teach me. I want to learn. I like the ability for a partner of mine to show me what they created is exciting for me. And so I can't date a certain type of man because it is going to frustrate the shit out of me knowing that you can't create something. How will you lead me? I'm never going to allow you to lead.
And then I'm going to just be mean.
I'm going to be mean. I'm never going to want to have sex with you because I'm like, I gotta do this too, because I like to participate. So not only do I have to do all the things when it comes to the creating and the building of the family, but then I also got to do it in other areas. It doesn't work. So I feel like it's totally okay, especially when it comes to dating. Sheryl Sandberg said it, or she's the first person that I heard it from. Who you choose as a partner is the most important decision you will ever make in your life. Yeah. For me, I feel like that comes second to who you choose to be the mother or the father of your children. Who you choose as a partner, it determines how far you go, what you guys go after, what you build, the type of joy that you have in your life and in your relationships. And if you continuously find yourself choosing like really shitty partners, that's the time, in my opinion, to stop dating completely, to figure out what is it in me that I am drawn to people who either consistently hurt me or that bring me to a low place that I don't enjoy.
Exactly. And going back to what your good friend, is Tara, what she was talking about with, the kind of people you're picking and your heart and things like that. A lot of times, especially in relationships, because a lot of times you can figure all the things out in business, but the relationships just trip us up. And it can cause you to lose trust in yourself. Yeah. And I'm sure you've experienced that where you're just like, damn, like, why am I fucking up like this? Like, I know better. Why do I keep doing the same thing over and over again? And I believe it's one of the biggest inhibitors to success is like when you start losing trust in yourself.
Absolutely.
So I want to know, because you're being so vulnerable with us about you being on this journey, how do you kind of rebuild that trust within yourself, when it comes to relationships, because I'm sure even when you start questioning your relationship, you start questioning business, you start questioning decisions, you just start questioning everything when you get to that dark place where you sit in the room by yourself, like, okay, what am I doing for real?
Absolutely.
So what do you feel like it's been for you where you started to kind of rebuild the trust to like, okay, let me come outside?
Yeah,
I think for me, it's been a journey, it's been a process. I think for me, it's like, I have to give myself like a lot of grace, right? I have to give myself a lot of grace and understand that, because I used to think like there was something wrong with me, right? So right now I'm like just learning how to like being around myself, right? So a lot of times that means I'm building trust by saying, hey, no, you can't come visit this weekend. So when I moved to where I'm living at now, the first 9 months I had someone visiting every day and every weekend.
What?
And so
you was in these streets. Okay.
I would have been exhausted.
And so it's very exhausting. It's very exhausting.
Wait, can we talk about that?
Yeah, we could talk about that.
What was that you didn't want to be alone?
Yeah.
No, it's not that I didn't want to be alone. It was a combination of a few things. Some of those folks visiting me a few years back when I left my job at Wall Street and spent the next 2 years traveling, I would go crash at some of these folks' places.
So you feel like you owed them.
So I felt like I owed them.
Yeah, gotta get it back. Okay, gotta get their lick back.
Right. And some of them told me, they're like, if you wasn't feeling well or wasn't, I had to come. Like, I was like, but you hosted me. And they're like, that was so long ago. And I was like,
we're past that.
That's what I'm saying. And so,
I thought we were past that.
So for me, it was just starting to say no, right? No, I'm not building trust with myself and living with the outcome. Because sometimes before we say no, we're like, but what if this person doesn't?
What if they leave? What if they never want to spend time with me again?
Absolutely.
What if they throw me away?
Absolutely.
But you also have to become okay with people saying that I no longer want to spend time or be around you.
Yeah.
That for me was the biggest thing, because I used to have a huge problem with people not wanting to be or spend time with me. And then when I started exercising my boundaries, I was like, if you decide you don't want me no more because I told you I can't, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. The party gonna still keep going. One monkey don't stop this show.
That fear of loss, for sure, can cripple us from making those decisions.
Crippling.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because we always think the worst, because that's how our brains are.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I'm going to protect you from the worst case scenario. so don't, and a lot of times it causes us to be dishonest unknowingly.
Yeah.
Where you don't even know that you're being dishonest, but you're being dishonest to yourself, which makes you dishonest to your people and your friends. And they're probably in your crib feeling like this energy from you that you don't even know you're giving because you're like, I don't want you here. Go home. You overstayed your welcome, get a hit. But it happens where we just don't even realize. So it's true that trusting a lot of the part of rebuilding that relationship with yourself is saying no and just honoring how you feel, where your mind and your heart and your actions all align.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's that alignment for me. Have you ever felt that you were in full alignment with your heart, your mind, and your body? And if so, what were you doing?
A long time ago, I had this article written about me when I was in college, and it was called, I think it was about like a dream deferred. It had like that in the title of it. And it was talking about how I sort of stopped pursuing, at that time I was big in soccer. So I stopped pursuing soccer to pursue all these other business ventures.
Oh, to make money for your mom, to make it easier.
Right. And I think too, when I stopped playing soccer at that time, I lost my identity. And so I took all that hard work ethic that I put in soccer and I put it in business. And so the last time when I felt in complete alignment is when I played soccer, when I was on the pitch, on the field, because it feels like a performance when you're playing the game.
Yeah.
And so that was the last time I felt in alignment. And I don't know if I did everything I did after that because, I was just trying to, just like fuel.
Like recapture that.
But I don't think I felt completely in alignment,
So when was the last time you played soccer?
Not in a while, not in a few years, yeah. So
you may want to revisit it just to play, to have fun,
Yeah, no, absolutely. But that was, I think, the last time I felt in complete alignment. And then I think I'm trying to get back to that. I have one of my friends, Varric. I remember when I first met him, I used to think he was like the meanest person ever. And the reason why I say this is because, like, he would just always tell people how he felt. And the older I got and the more I hung around him, I'm like, man, I wish I was more like Barrett.
I mean, you got some good friends. You got some good friends. I want to be their friend. You're doing okay. Just so you know, you're doing okay so far in the friendship circle. Like, that is a major component of the healing journey, is having the right support system.
Absolutely.
So I love that for you. Good for you.
So I wish that, I think for me, a full alignment now looks like letting people know how I feel. I had posted something on Instagram and Twitter the other day, and it was saying, so it was like the me and then the me with boundaries. The me said, hey, I'm sorry to, bother you, but I want, and then the me with boundaries said, I said what I said.
And that's it. It is what it is.
And that's where I'm trying to get to. I think that's the full alignment now. It's like letting people know how I feel the first time.
Oh,
right?
yes.
So,
Okay, the first time.
Let's be clear. Let's be clear.
To be clear. This is what it is. This is what it is not.
Right.
And we're moving.
Good for you.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
I love that. And two, I always think, because I know you're one of 7.
Yeah, 1 of 7.
Yeah, you're one of 7. I applaud your moms. I'm trying to get past 1 of 1. And also, growing up where things are not as easy and things are more challenging, especially for Black men, you tend to have like survivor's remorse, right? Where it's you're like the first to go to college, or you're the first to get like a high paying job.
Or the only.
The first or the only. And sometimes you're the first to make the millions, to do all the things, to buy houses, cars, and all the things. But how do you resolve, because I know you said you're working on your boundaries, so how do you resolve that those feelings of like guilt or shame that, damn, I made it out, and maybe someone might not have been as lucky or has had a challenging time getting to that place and space?
That's a real thing.
Yeah, honestly. And I think that was something I always try to bring the past into the present. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm like, oh man, if my friend, if he could only be here, let me go and grab him from the past and bring him here. And he's like, why am I here? Right? I'm like, oh, like we can go get a yacht. Like, he's like, why am I here? Like they don't like
they don't care about
They don't care.
They don't value the same thing.
They don't care. They don't value the same thing.
They don't want
I can't want it for them because that's not what they want. They're like, let me go back home and let me go back on the corner and sell drugs. Like, that is what they know, and that is all they know. And
they're not ready yet for something else. And sometimes you have to honor where people are in the spaces that they're at on their own journey. You can't always like press fast forward on their journey so they can catch up with you.
Correct.
Which is hard.
It is so hard, especially when you love them, when you care about them.
Yeah.
But that too is being Captain Save-A-Ho. Ho, I don't just mean as like a female or a woman.
Right.
Yeah.
Captain Save-A-Ho is anybody who you want more for them than they want for themselves. So you will overextend yourself to try and, like you say, press fast forward on their journey to help get them to where you are, or where you see or feel they could be. And it's like, it doesn't work that way.
And at its core, it's such a beautiful thing to be like that. Like,
it
is,
to care
it's
that
we live
much.
in a world where that gets taken advantage of, because it's such a beautiful way to be, to like see the potential in people, to see them beyond how they see themselves, and to want to help them, and to want to pull them up, and to
try
and
to
to
do
try,
it.
And then for them to shit on you, or to be ungrateful, or that happens so much more than it doesn't.
Or to just say no. They don't always have to shit on you or be ungrateful. They can just say, hey, I don't want that.
That's not the life.
That's not it. And that's them too, exercising their boundary and defining what they want their life to look like.
Yeah, and you have to respect that. But it's very, very tough sometimes to see people suffer unnecessarily when you know you have a solution, but then you can end up enabling them when you think you're helping them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a very blurry line, that enabling helping thing. It's like, I could save you right now, but the lesson that's in there for you, that the Lord wants you to have, I don't want to get in the way of him and his lessons, because
he gotta come get me.
then it's my lesson, and then it's the whole thing, and then I gotta go back to school. I don't know. I don't want to do none of that. So I know that it's tough to kind of watch people like that. And another thing, when it comes to having high levels of success, not only is there survivor's remorse, but there's imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Where you're in these spaces like, do I belong here? Am I supposed to be here? Has that shown up for you? And if it has, what have you done with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's shown up a lot of times, dating back to my like childhood, right? Like I lived in a poor neighborhood, but we went to the same school district as all the white kids.
Okay.
Oh my God,
Right,
we had
so-
the same life.
Yeah, so showed up then when I could go to my best friend's house and sleep over there, but he couldn't come to my neighborhood, and my
Oh,
house,
right.
right?
Oh my
And so
God, I feel so seen.
so there were many of those moments, and even now I deal with it because as I accumulated a lot of like money, at times I don't know if I'm deserving of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm like, I need to give it to my family. I need to give it to my cousin because he has to pay his rent, but then he's in Miami on South Beach.
Listen.
Like priorities, people.
With all the bitches and all the bottles.
And so I'm always, questioning, like, even the other day, I was like, am I ungrateful because I don't want to do this thing? Right? Like, and so
it's like, am I denying my gift? Am I saying I don't like the fact that I'm gifted in this area?
yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
So it's shown up a lot of times where, and I think people, and I try to be as transparent as possible on social media because people think that, like, money, you accumulate money and all the other things
problems
go away.
It's like, no.
It's not.
It's a magnifier too.
It's a magnifier.
It
Absolutely.
magnifies all the areas in which, because it's like, okay, great. This one area, golden boy. All the other shit, son, look over the horizon, like in the Lion King.
Right.
You see all that
shit
over there?
Yeah.
That's
all that shit that you ain't worked through that you're going to have to go ahead and work on that, my good sis, my good brother. That's literally what
everything they like to.
is what's wrong with you. It is what is wrong with you. These are all your problems.
I love that. I'm
Right.
taking that. That's good.
But what it does though too is, I think, because I'm always reframing something. So I always say, and we were talking about it in the interview with Jess, is healing, and it is a privilege to be able to pay for a lot of the modalities. It's figuring out which part of healing works best for me. She was talking about EMDR.
EDMR.
No, it's EMDR.
It is?
I promise. I Googled it.
Maybe. I thought it was EMDR. Okay, whatever you said it was.
Eye movement desensitization
and
reprocessing.
Yes. Okay, you're right. My bad.
Oh, see, I'm remembering.
Okay. Look at
She was saying like all the different modalities that worked for her, and she was also saying that she released her business coaches because she needed the healing folks. Because I know I could do good in business. And shoot, Brandon talked about it earlier today too. He's one of the other young folks that we had interviewed, where he was saying that I know if I do A, B, and C at work, it's going to equal D. I'm great at that. However, in the relationships in my life,
more complicated, more variables.
It's what E equals MC squared. It's a little more confusing. And so when it comes to figuring out like, okay, I'm great in this area, but now these are my areas of opportunity. How do I, or what emphasis then do I put the same veracity that I put into the business piece? How do I also do that? Like I remember I was talking to you a while ago where I was like, I went on this intense, what does it feel like? What does love feel like to me?
Oh,
Because I had no idea.
Wow.
Like, what
That's
does
such a
it
powerful
feel
question.
like?
Right? Because we always have these ideas from romantic comedies and from television and now from Instagram as to what love should look like. But do we ever stop and feel like, what does it feel like when I feel love? That's such a powerful question to ask yourself.
But I took myself on that journey to figure out, like, what does it feel like? It means dating a lot and fucking no one. For me, that's what it meant. Like,
why do you feel like that makes you feel loved?
Because y'all finna learn more about my business. So, my introduction to sex was not some beautiful, amazing, wonderful thing. It lasted for like 30 seconds. It was in the back of my car that my mother had bought that I had snuck to go have sex with my first boyfriend. And I realized he was a virgin too, so it was trash. As soon as it was over, he got up and left. Like, as soon as it was over.
Not even a cuddle.
Nothing. So what that did is it disconnected me from sex. And so for me, I would just have sex because it was a Tuesday. And so because sex for me became something to do when I started to figure out how love felt to me, I removed it because I would just have sex because, like, again, because it's Tuesday. And then I would use that as a tool to get partners to fall for me because I had become so proficient at it. Anything that you work at,
An expert.
you usually become more proficient. And so for me, when I wanted to know what love felt like, I had to remove the sex aspect because I knew I was good at that. And I knew that partners would fall in love with the feeling that I was giving them, not necessarily me.
Okay.
And so for me, it meant removing sex.
What do you feel like it is for you? Like, if you have to think about it, and I know it's a deep question to ask, but what do you feel like, when do you feel the most loved?
Like, what does it feel like for you?
That's a good question.
Or when do you feel loved?
That's the even better question. Yeah, I don't know if I know the answer to that.
Right,
That's okay.
That's
I don't know if I know the answer, yeah.
I think I feel the most loved during deep conversation.
Yes.
I love when I feel like you see me. Like, I feel really loved. Like, there's like two extremes for me. I feel really loved during very deep, intellectual, spiritual, philosophical conversation with somebody because I know how vulnerable two people have to be and how comfortable it is to talk about your ideas and your thoughts that maybe you might feel judged about. You might have opinions about things that are unconventional. So I love when I can just sit with somebody and it's just me and them. It's just like the most intimate thing to me. It's just like a deep conversation. And I also,
it's like soul speak. That's what I call it.
Yeah,
when
like
your soul speaks.
I just, and when there's just like a connection, and it's just like, oh my God, you see me, like you think like me, like we are like the same person. Like that feeling for me is just, that makes me feel really loved. And I also love when you like get my order right.
I just choked.
Because you want to know, and it sounds like trivial, but I feel like you're paying attention. When I say like, okay, like for instance,
the baseline is that you're paying attention.
That's what it means. Yeah, and I guess it's essentially the same thing as a deep conversation, but I like lemon pepper wings, right? But I can't eat lemon pepper wings unless I have hot sauce and ranch.
I need not the ranch, but the hot sauce.
But I need both, and it's very, very specific. And I will not. I like throw all the wings away if I don't have those two very specific things. Don't forget it. Don't drop it. Don't spill it. Like I will. Like you might have to go back to the. Like you might have to go back and get it. Like is that real? So when somebody gets to, and really what it is just getting to know me so well that like you can order for me. You know that I like this. Like that makes me feel love. When it's just like when I get a gift from someone that's just like, oh, you know me for real. Like you're my person. Like that for me feels like love. When you are paying so much attention to me that you learn all the intricacies about who I am, what I like, what I don't like, and it matters to you to provide that or to not provide it if you know I don't like it. Like that for me is what love feels like to me on if you're simplifying it.
I love that. Yeah. If I had to define in a word, love feels for me now, it feels safe.
Absolutely.
Even in my wrongness, I know that you will correct me as my friend, like Danny today, because y'all, I went clean off on this lady on the airplane. Did she deserve it? Yes. But the way in which I went off, baby, I'm still working through. I told y'all, this love and light turned real and ratchet real quick. And Danny was like in the car, she was like, well, damn, 0 to 100? I ain't gonna lie, I was a little convicted. In my little spirit, but it was the way in which she did it to where I know like I'm safe in her correction. I'm safe in her love for me because I know it comes from a very real place and it's never from a I'm trying to tear you down type of place.
Especially because sometimes I go clean off on people too. So it's just like, we're not judging here.
No, but if I love you, if I care about you, like even with you, I noticed something and I was like, hey, check your mail. For me, if I say I care about you, I'm not going to give from a place to where like I ain't got it. Like, and I'm not talking about monetary. I'm talking about like my emotional container isn't filled, my something. But for me, if I say I love someone, I want to make them feel safe enough to like, hey, even in my wrongness, you're going to love me through it and still tell me, hey, you fucked that up. Yeah. So for me, what love really does feel like is safety. I can be who I am, the good, the bad, the really ugly, like this morning on the plane. Sorry, sis, if you listen to this podcast.
You have to.
I said what I said and I meant what I said, but maybe I didn't have to be so harsh with you.
And last question, with all the things that you have done and accomplished, what do you feel like has been your greatest lesson? Like if you have something that you want to pass down to all your children and your children and all your kinfolk, and you know, and it's easy to kind of be like, oh, I learned this and I know this, but like just something for you that you just know, like this has been like my greatest lesson with all the things that I've done. What would you say that is?
Man, I have so many that
Give us a lot. Give us a few. All right, top three. Let's go.
Like variety.
Because I'm a writer.
Okay.
I'm a
So he's on the
writer.
reading journey. Okay, I'm here for that.
Yeah, so I always write things down whenever I see them.
We love a thinking person.
Hello, especially a thinking man.
Oh, girl.
Thinking and ambitious, yeah.
Hercules.
One of the things was like, if you don't get comfortable letting people down, you'll always be the one who's uncomfortable.
Oh, yes.
Take notes, sis. One more time for the children in the back.
Yeah, so if you don't get comfortable letting people down, you'll always be the one who's uncomfortable. And that resonated with me based on, you know, where I was and my people-pleasing tendencies.
Yeah.
You know, trying to make, I would, even if someone hurt me, my next question would be, hey, are you okay? Right?
As they like step on your foot.
Right.
Listen, as they're taking the knife to cut off your finger.
Yeah.
Right. And
Like,
so,
what, are you straight?
right. So I had to realize that, no, it's about me, right?
Yeah.
Am I okay? You know, so these are
Taking
things I
care
had
of
to ask myself. The other thing is, you know, once you learn who's a priority in your life, you begin to respond to different things differently.
Yes.
And so for me, it was just around like understanding that I'm also a priority in my life.
Yes.
Do you matter to you?
Yeah. And that's what I had to learn the long way.
It's okay. I've had to learn quite a few lessons the long way myself.
And then the last thing was like clarity doesn't come from thought, it comes from engagement. So it's just not enough to think about it. Sometimes you have to engage to see clarity.
Oh, I love that. Clarity doesn't. Ooh.
Yeah, but
Y'all should all
Thank you
know.
for all them gems. I wasn't ready for all the gems. Okay.
I journal for days. But yeah.
No, I love that. And I like that you're journaling. Like, you know, because, you know, everybody's healing and work and stuff.
Right.
But that's why I like to ask specific questions like, what are you doing for real?
Yes.
Because it sounds really good to say you're working on it or you're doing it or you're, but it's like, no, you're like, no, I'm journaling. I'm sitting by myself. I'm making decisions. I'm putting up these boundaries. Like I'm putting in the work so that I can live the life that I want to live. Because when you are turning these pages and you're trying to live your dream life, there's so much sacrifice that happens that you don't really get to share with anybody. Like you're the one that has to feel those moments of, hey, I feel really lonely. Hey, I feel really shitty. Hey, I feel really unworthy. Now what?
Yeah.
How do I move through that? How do I elevate past that and become the best version of myself? And I'm super proud of you for the work that you've done, that it sounds like you've just done and you're continuing to do. And I honestly just wish you the best. Like that's amazing that you're doing all this, you know, especially because a lot of times it seems like nowadays people don't want to do anything that doesn't have a monetary amount attached to it.
Right.
You know, and healing doesn't always seem that beneficial monetarily.
Not in the beginning.
Especially because sometimes some of the things that you're going to do to heal may cost you some money.
Right.
You know, whether it's costing you a deal, costing you a few $100s on somebody's couch.
Costing you a relationship.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It can be healing, can be costly. So bravo to you for taking these steps and for really, as a man, putting yourself out there like, hey, I'm healing, I'm working. This is what it looks like. And I hope that you inspire other men, because we like to have these conversations with men because we all want to assume what men are doing as women. It's like our thing.
It is. It's something that we really like to do.
Yeah. So
We're committed.
We've been very intentional on bringing men into and onto this podcast and into our space so that we can have conversations with you so we can really understand each other. And like you said, you get clarity through engagement.
Right.
And I've gotten so much
Engagement.
clarity. Yeah. So this is awesome. I'm
Yes,
happy. This is great.
I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for joining us, and also for allowing us to talk beyond the what you do.
Right.
Because you're so much more than that.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
I'm a firm believer in, even when I am building relationships, I usually will never lead with what you do. I always want to know with who are you? Like, what's your character looking like? Like, what's your value system looking like? How I'm feeling around your energy. And that for me, because the first time we officially met in person was like in New Orleans at a mutual friend's house. And your energy was just so like, no disrespect. And I mean this in the best way possible, but it was like a child who was just so kind and giving and
like gentle.
open.
You have a gentle
very
energy.
Gentle. And so I was just like, oh, he's a really good person. I like him. I'm gonna make him a friend. And I'm so grateful to you for coming and for showing up, because I don't take it lightly that anyone comes to show up for us.
Oh, yes.
And we definitely want to make sure, where can folks stay connected with you? Where can they find you on all of the things?
Yeah, no, first of all, thank y'all for having me and having a different type of conversation. Everyone watching, they're like, wait, I thought he was going to talk about ads. It was like, I thought he was talking about ads terms, right? No, but this definitely what I try to talk more about on Instagram and Twitter sometimes is like the mental aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
Outside of just like the digital marketing. And I try to humanize myself because I mean, we all go through this. So thank you for allowing me on this platform. But people can find me. I'm at Abu Fofanah. That's ABUFOFANAH on every platform. And feel free to DM.
And where can they buy your course? Because we still you still have that talent.
Right. Yeah. So I teach a digital marketing course called Power Your Launch. And so they can just go to poweryourlaunch.com to learn more about it.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. I've been raving about it forever. So.
You'll learn so much. I know. So you can find me everywhere on Beyonce's internet at Alicia Reese on all the platforms. Y'all know my name is spelled extra special, so spell it right and you'll find me.
I am at Miss Danny Foster on all the places, and you can go to DannyFosterCoaching.com. And for Triggered, you can go to @TriggeredAFPC on all the places, and you can go to our website at TriggeredAFPodcast.com. Thank you again so much for joining us. Thank you all for listening. You know how it goes. Share with your friends, share with your mama, share with everybody. Listen again and again, because I promise every time you listen, you'll find another gem that you can share with your people. And we really hope that these episodes are helping you work through and deal with all these triggers that we have and that are constantly coming up. And we'll see you guys next time on Triggered AF the podcast.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Triggered AF. Remember, don't be consumed by your triggers. Confront it and then work to release it. Whether you leave us more triggered than you came, or you're feeling like you've been open to a new perspective, our hope is that you've grown. Make sure to share this episode with a friend who's trigger happy and tag us while you're listening. We can't wait to hear from you. Until next week, pull it together, girl.